Welcome to Storybreakers, the show where we come up with a brand new film idea off the top of our heads. I'm your host, Brennan, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Paul Bushe, the co-writer and co-director of the horror thriller Killers Within. Together, we're taking a stab at what the next installment of the Halloween franchise should be, and as always, we're doing it off the top and on the spot. This episode is part of our Halloween Storybreakers run, but unlike some of the touring sessions that are hosted on our guests' YouTube channels, this one is right here on the official Storybreakers YouTube channel. So far, our Halloween lineup includes episodes with Drum Dum's Lee McCoy, Cody Leach, and now Paul Bushe, each building a brand new take on where the Halloween franchise should go next. If you enjoy this session, make sure you subscribe, break that bell icon, and check out the full playlist featuring all of our Halloween franchise Storybreaker sessions with YouTubers, writers, and horror aficionados. All right, it's time to break story. Paul, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris. This is episode 4, I think, maybe, that we've done together.
That's it.
Hopefully I'm not out of ideas yet.
No, we need your ideas coming in fast. So, just to catch people up to speed with this is a tour that we're running across different YouTube channels. However, this one is hosted on the Storybreakers channel. And what we're doing is we're actually looking into what the next chapter of the Halloween franchise should be. I came up with this idea originally a couple of months ago because for the first time I watched Halloween 5 and 6. And that's where they start introducing this new cult of Thorn and justifying and the motivations of Michael Myers, and it gets really spirally and bizarre. If you take that with all the start, stop, reboot, and timelines that the franchise has introduced, it just made me think, where could they go next? So that's what we're here to find out. So first off, what is your relationship, Paul, with the Halloween franchise?
So I think we talked about this on our other podcast, the Mount Rushmore ones. We did talk about Halloween a fair bit, actually, on our first episode this time last year. So relationship with Halloween is, I've seen the first film a bunch of times. I might have seen the second film once. I've seen the third film twice. I've seen Halloween H20 twice. And have it on good authority. I know we talked about this before. That is Halloween H20, not H2O. In terms of, I saw the first Rob Zombie film. I think I saw the second Rob Zombie one. I definitely saw the first one. Maybe I saw a bit of the second one. And then in terms of the latest tranche, I have seen Halloween Kills. And then I didn't see the last one. So, I've seen a fair bit. Yeah, I dropped off. And I think part of that is going to inform my suggestions. But I'm not beholden to my suggestions. Welcome any thoughts or ideas you have to shape it in any direction we go.
Lovely. Yeah, it's interesting that you haven't seen Halloween Ends. Do you know about that installment?
No, and I'll be honest with you, I just lost interest. I just had no interest in coming back for the third one. I think I kind of lost interest during, just watching the second one. I think I turned it off, which sounds really bad, but yeah.
It's okay. They got quite divisive, and especially Halloween Ends. Some people really like it because it goes a different direction, but a lot of people find it frustrating because it just introduces this new character, this male babysitter who accidentally kills a kid at the beginning and is ostracized by the community, and then he slowly becomes the next killer, and he ends up stealing Michael Myers' mask, and it gets quite bizarre, but it becomes more about him than anybody else until the last act, spoiler alert, where then it just turns into the last stand between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, even though the entire film wasn't about them. And so you're like, I don't really know. And then they definitively end Michael Myers. So that's what's really unique about this, going, okay, so are you continuing from there? Because it felt like you were setting up a new character to follow through. Then they killed him near the end. Not at the end, near the end. The character you followed for most of it, right before the third act, they're like, okay, we don't need him anymore, Michael Myers. And you're like, hang on, wait, what is going on here? These are some bold decisions that you're making for this film. So when you take that into account, you basically have a completed trilogy that ends in a peculiar way. You have the timeline that goes from Halloween 1 and 2 to Halloween H20, as you would say.
H20.
You've got Halloween up until 4, 5, and 6, and then they stopped doing that. You've got the Rob Zombie one. So in terms of where we go next, we have a decision to make. Do we want to do a full-on new reboot? Do we want to make a sequel to one of those timelines? Do we want to make a prequel? Because there's a lot you could potentially explore before even the original Halloween, if you dare wanted to touch that kind of part of Michael Myers' life. Or do you just want to follow on from Halloween Ends, even though you haven't seen it? So, like, what are you thinking about, Paul Bushe? You got something in your mind?
What I'm thinking about is, okay, one of my ideas is to go right back to John Carpenter's original idea. So his original idea was to make an anthology film every year. So Halloween 1 was just meant to be a film, a standalone film. And then he wanted to do a different film and call it Halloween. So every Halloween a different movie comes out, and it just becomes kind of like a regular event, and everyone goes to cinema every year to see the Halloween film. But the studio made him do a sequel, and then when part 3, Season of the Witch, came out, I think because they did a sequel, when people went to go see the third film and there was no Michael Myers, they were like, what the hell is this? So that did terrible. So then they went back to Michael Myers for 4 and onwards. So I think the original idea was really good. It was really sound. You know, and we've seen that for years with like films like, you know, Saw had a Saw film every year, like these event films. It's yearly. They can, you know, churn them out. Anthology films are big on home market, like things like VHS. That does well. That has a new film out, or a new film, which is a collection of films. At the moment, VHS Halloween. So I think there's kind of potential to go that route. Go back to the core of what was the central concept behind this, because like we've talked about this again on our other podcast about how, you know, filmmakers come up with a simple idea and it works really, really well. And a great example of that is Alien. So Alien, the first Alien film, great idea. It's a simple idea. It's a terrifying alien on a ship. They're trapped. It's a horror slasher movie in an unusual location that brings something new to it. And then, you know, James Cameron was able to come up with a way of genre bending that into an action horror, primarily action. And that worked really, really well. But after that, creatively, it's diminishing. Because the central concept is very, very simple. And the longer you try and drag that out and the more lore you try to retroactively put into that, the more people see it falling apart, the threads between it. And I think a mistake is made to try and take Michael Myers, the character, and try and explain why he's nearly inhuman or invulnerable or immortal or whatever, because that's all retroactive thinking. It's not, you know, coming up with a concept and delivering on that concept over a series of films. So I think that, and that's part of my problem as well with the whole, you know, Halloween 1 and 2, then it goes to H20, or Halloween 1 and then it goes to the latest trilogy, because your foundation is constantly changing. Your foundation is whatever you want it to be. It's really like the Superman Returns of it. Like, oh, Superman Returns is the sequel to Superman 1 and 2. It's like, well, the audience don't know that. It's complicated, you know, and that kind of stuff. And I think when you make things difficult or a barrier to entry, people just get tired. Even though I know that the new Halloween film did very well, the first one. So that's a long-winded way of explaining my rationale for not really being that interested in exploring the Michael Myers character, but more exploring the idea of doing really interesting anthology films, but bringing in like really interesting directors. Like, so we had like, you know, we got Get Out, which was a wonderful film, great horror film from an unlikely source in Jordan Peele, you know, known for comedy.
Yeah.
So it's like when you kind of give people who are known for one genre, but then they're able to segue into a different genre. Like even the latest Halloween films, they were made by, I forget the director's name, but I believe
David Gordon Green.
yeah, he came from a kind of a comedy background, wasn't it?
He did.
Yeah.
And even his co-writer was there was there were a comedy team
That's
basically,
it.
which was surprising that they were chosen for this. But it's perfectly fine.
Oh
But
yeah,
it was unexpected.
but it's like Seth Rogen. He writes and they produce stuff that is outside of comedy. So people have many talents, but they don't get the opportunity sometimes to kind of show those talents in different genres. And I think this could be a franchise to, you know, one, bring in creatives to work on a project who would not normally work on something like that. And it's also an opportunity to kind of like platform up and coming directors in kind of like in a safe way and get them into kind of like bigger budget studio films, because it's increasingly hard for directors to find their way to bigger budgets, like coming from the indies and that kind of stuff. Like for a while, like they were throwing like Marvel films at indie directors, but they weren't really getting to direct them. They were sort of like, yeah, you just do bits of dialogue and we've got all the CG handled.
You do the character pieces.
Yeah, and there's not that much character piece, you know. So I think that, and plus they're cheap. You know, they're probably the cheapest part of the budget for those films. But I think if you did something like this and you said every year, look, it's a $30 million movie. It's like, and it's in the cinema for, I think this could easily be like a Netflix or an Amazon thing, particularly maybe Amazon, because they're more into kind of like the cinema release for a while. You know, if they got their hands on the Halloween name of the franchise, it's a $30 million movie once a year. It goes into cinema for 4 weeks of Halloween, and then it's on the streaming platform. And I think that'd be really, really interesting. And, you know, you could, it's even reminding me nearly of like that idea like Robert Rodriguez had, you know, of doing like the Grindhouse movies, you know, and he had the fake trailers with like different directors made fake trailers. Like there's so much you could kind of do with it. So that's one idea.
So what if we decided to embrace the concept of Halloween and make it go back to, this is supposed to be an anthology, and we follow on from, which is interesting because then you have a timeline, all these different timelines, but the one that doesn't have a timeline is Halloween 3 because it was a once-off. But if you do another anthology, all of a sudden you have a third part. So you've actually developed its own timeline. Part 1, part
True.
3, and part 8? I don't know.
More? I don't know. Yeah.
No, I think it's more than that at this point. Yeah, part 9 maybe? I don't know.
At least. But yeah, I think that could be good in terms of what those films are. Like I personally grew up loving anthology. Like I was a big viewer of The Outer Limits. You know,
Right.
they did try to like bring back the Twilight Zone there. I think a couple of years ago, I think Jordan Peele tried to bring that back. Like there's a hunger out there for kind of good sci-fi horror storytelling that I think is not being served at the moment.
Are we saying that the next one is a feature film, once-off, full-length film, and then you do that each year? Or are you talking about Halloween becomes an actual feature anthology series where you have a collection of different stories? Because I think originally they were like every year it's a new
That's it. I think that's it. Every year
horror
is a new
story.
Exactly. I think that's it. The original concept. Every
I think
year
that's what it is.
Yeah, every year is a brand new film. Like VHS has that coverage. Like we'll release a 90-minute film that's made up of a number of short films.
Yeah.
So no, I think it should be a brand new film every year, and they're just like
Set at Halloween too, because even
Set at
the
Halloween,
third one, I believe it was Deborah Hill. They hired a writer originally for it, and they just said witchcraft and technology.
yeah.
That's what we want, and that was kind of the beginning nuggets of what became Halloween 3. So yeah, I think that's a good route to go. So what do you think? Do you have an idea for what you want the first Halloween anthology feature to actually be about, though? Oh, we just cracking it right now.
I think we're probably cracked.
Yes.
Okay, so as we have to crack the first one, do we? We do.
We do, of course we do. That's what we're here for. You're
I
just
know.
grooving with the director, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
Let's not dance around it.
But it should be
We
there.
know we have our parameters.
Yeah.
We have our parameters.
Have our parameters.
The first one was a slasher. The second one it started with witchcraft and technology, but it kind of became the supernatural cult that's sacrificing children using Halloween masks.
Yes.
So we know it should be set at Halloween. We don't need to set it in present time. It can be in the future. It can be in the past.
Yeah.
But we know it's not going to be a slasher, and let's avoid
Like it
kind
could,
of
like it could
supernatural
be set,
cult.
like it could be said. Like I was actually talking about the origin of Halloween to a gentleman who came to the door the other day. You know the people I don't know, but like they come to the door trying to get you to switch electricity provider. And we were talking about Halloween because of the Halloween decorations up. And I said, sure, look, it comes from Ireland. You know, Halloween, it's pagan. You know, so maybe it's a case of setting it way back when during a pagan ritual in a, you know, I'm thinking of like, you know, like the film The Witch or something, like you're talking this like old, whatever, like 1700s, 1600s, not to kind of get into like the witch hunt stuff or anything like that, but, you know, maybe settlers who've gone to America, it's brought pagan traditions with them. You know, there's something even terrifying about those early jack-o'-lanterns like that are made out of turnip heads. You know, turnips rather than pumpkins, and they look really freaky. You know, there could be, but like, look, we want to try and stay away from the witchcraft stuff, but
well, not necessarily. Like the third one really isn't witchcraft. I mean, it's an evil corporation that's sacrificing a bunch of children to a god. You know, like it started with that as the premise. It morphed into something else. It's a bold move, though. What you're talking about is a very bold swing to go. Not only are we doing an anthology, but we're going way back to like one of the first American Halloweens.
But it came from settlers in Ireland. You know,
I get that. But
yeah. But bring it back. If we're calling it Halloween and we're starting again, well, let's do the real reboot here. Let's go right back to the top, you know?
So, yeah, I mean, it could be like we're talking about settler, like kind of European settlers or Irish settlers in America, and they're trying to celebrate their first Halloween there. Trying to bring this tradition to this unknown world, and then something happens, and maybe you can start playing off of superstitions from that culture.
Well, like Samhain is like a €2,000 festival, so like you're talking Jesus time. Even, you know, you can go wherever you want with it, and that's the beauty of it. If you did want to put it around celebrations of Halloween or anything like that, you can bring it to any time period. But I think the most digestible for people is probably, something like the first people who landed in, not the first people, but people who moved to America or something like that and brought traditions with them and that kind of thing. So, okay, so I don't know whether it could be like, so say you did the witch thing, there was a lot of like, even during like the famine when Irish were going over to the States, there was diseases and stuff like that were going over with them, that, you know, when they got there, they were then put like in kind of quarantine / hospitals to stop them spreading that disease. Many people died in those. I don't know whether there could be some kind of like element where, you know, some people in New York area are kind of like, you know, it's a disease they don't understand, so the people must be cursed, or you could have some old lady who came over, and because they were quarantined when they shouldn't have been quarantined, her family died, and she's the only one left, and then she puts a curse on some of the people who stopped her from Does that make sense? So they came over in the ship. They're not sick, but they got put in a kind of like a hospital with sick people wrongly. And then they did get sick, and then she survived, but her family died. So they've come all this way, and now she's fully alone. So she curses the people that put them in there, and they're dealing with that curse. So you could go that kind of route with it.
I really like that entire setup, though. That's a very clear setup. What I would say is, can we marry that with the idea that we do want to set it around October 31st, and they're also trying to bring this tradition to this new land. So while you have this person who's legitimately cursing people, you have this very peculiar dark celebration happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And the people in America are going, what's going on here? Because you're actually marrying these two events, the tradition and the supernatural are happening coincidentally
or
at the same time,
or sort of orchestrated. Like, it doesn't have to happen, that curse, there and then. Like, whoever it is, maybe it's not the granny, maybe it's the mother, maybe it's the daughter, the youngest one, and years later she learns how to enchantment or curse, and then by design she links in with those people or finds those people again as these festivals are taking hold and people are getting into them, and as part of the festival they think they're partaking in a joke supernatural thing, or they think they're partaking in tradition, but really they're unwillingly or unwittingly willingly surrendering their souls. So they think they're taking part in like a game at Halloween.
Yeah.
But guess what? It's not. It's some sort of incantation, and she sells their souls to Satan, or they sell their souls to Satan, and they don't even realize it. And now they're being haunted, they're being tracked, they're seeing things, they're trying to kind of like figure out what the hell is going on, and they have to, track back and get to her and try and lift this curse and repent for their sins, but in a genuine way to free themselves. And of course that gives you the ability then to have some of them getting like knocked off as they go, like Satan comes for what he's owed.
Interesting. Yeah. So are you saying then that we start on a boat coming to America?
Yeah.
There are sick people on the boat, and you have this character. Are we saying that she's older? She's like the grandmother?
No, I think maybe she's the daughter. Maybe she's the youngest. Maybe she's like 6. Okay, so she's the youngest of the cohort. It's maybe her parents, her brother, her granny. And they land, and they're quarantined when they should not have been quarantined. And she's okay, but they all die because they're quarantined with sick people.
She has an immunity, which can happen.
Yeah, or she just didn't happen to catch it, or whatever. Or she caught it and she got better.
Maybe there was a supernatural reason that she believes she was.
Maybe,
sick.
yeah, actually, yeah, maybe. There you go, planting the seed early. Maybe she has like some superstitious little medallion or something that the granny gave her to quote unquote protect her.
She can meet probably kind of a priest.
Yeah.
Afterward. And he's like, maybe God has plans for you. And then along the way, she's like, maybe it wasn't God who had plans for me.
Yeah. There you go. So our villain is tragic in nature with tick.
Yeah.
That's always good. That's always a good tick to have. She has good motivation, revenge. She bides her time. She plans. She tracks down those people. I mean, it could be like it's not just the people, it's like one particular person, the person who ran the port or the dock or whatever. And so she curses their entire family, so they feel what she felt. So the last person to die out of that group is, say for example, it's the dad, say it's the father figure. So he's seeing his kids die or his wife die, or so it's the demon or the devil is taking all of his family one by one, where he's going to be the last one. So you could kind of go super dark with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, really dark with that. So that's kind of a decent end of Act 1 into Act 2 point. It's not bad.
So what age do you think, if she was 6 years old on the boat, then I imagine it's within that year that her family perished because of the
Yeah,
quarantine
it'd have to be
zone.
like she's probably 16, 17 now. You
Oh,
know,
interesting. Okay.
like
Yeah.
I'm thinking that like she's had to kind of survive. She's
Now she's
found.
also been taken from quarantine and probably given to another family to
Could
be
have been.
raised,
Yeah, yeah. That's a good
and
point, actually.
they take her away to
Mm,
another part of the new frontier, right?
mm.
So then when she becomes older, she actually is on a mission to figure out who was the person who decided her family should go into quarantine.
Yes.
So you actually have kind of a journey at the beginning. She goes off on her own. She could even encounter some ruffians and handle herself pretty
Mm-hmm.
well. Kind of maybe even you're not quite sure what happened, but
Mm.
she's done something to them. You don't even need to see it. Maybe, camera goes behind a tree, then other people stumble upon this scene and it looks like they
Mm.
all harmed themselves. This looks like they did it to themselves. That's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah.
And the audience are like, wait, what? How did she do that?
Mm.
Or how did she get them to do that? And you don't need to explain it because we're introducing her dark abilities gradually.
Yes.
But at least that gets you an early setup to her actions. She's very single-minded. Someone gets in her way, she puts a stop to them. So she ends up back in the port town 10 years later, and she's in search of this family. But then she's playing goody, right? And she's like
Yeah.
trying to ingratiate herself into the community and also introduce some customs and cultures. And maybe I can be part of the party planning committee.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. And you can, I mean, you can make the character like the victim that he's not a bad guy. He just was doing, like
Yeah.
her family did have symptoms, and he did what was required, and it went wrong. Or maybe like it looked like they had symptoms, but they didn't, and he didn't do it out of malice. So I think it'd be
He
interesting
doesn't
to
even
have-
remember, which I think would
Well,
be
do you know what?
fascinating.
It could be, but like I mean, wouldn't it be more interesting if he was actually like he found that dark time a weight on his conscience? So like, it's nice to have a sympathetic villain and a sympathetic protagonist.
True, but maybe he does feel bad about a lot of the people.
Exactly. I
who
think it's like
perished.
it's not just them. It's like that time.
Yeah, he doesn't remember that particular family.
Yeah.
But there was lots of people in that space, so he's like, I regret them all. I don't see any individually, but I see them all in my dreams each night. Like it's like they come to me together. They don't come to me apart.
Yeah.
And so, but she would find that really frustrating.
That's it,
She's
yeah.
been harboring this resentment.
she's defined
and
by it.
and she's like, you don't even know their name.
Mm.
You don't even know their face. But on his side, he's like, all their faces have become one, basically, because it was too tough, it was, you have to make decisions. It's literally life or death for the community. And there's no COVID testing.
Yeah.
Like, you better be safe.
That's
Then
it. You're
sorry.
trying to do your best. It's not out of malice.
Yeah.
I think that's good. So like, I mean, since then he could have a daughter her age already. Like, so he probably could have had a daughter. But like, it'd be interesting. Like, if he had a younger child that, if you want to make it scary, you want to make it all that, like, the devil's coming for that kid, and etc. So it's like the stakes are high. There's innocent victims there as well, but I don't know. Like, you've got a lot of Act 2 is the family being tortured or scared, and I'm thinking like you can take inspiration from like Hellraiser for these things as well. The Cenobite scene. You can pull inspiration for how this family is like tortured or haunted or terrified and that kind of thing. But I don't know whether it's a case of like he is able to overcome it by convincing. But let's just call her the witch for want of a better word. But like
Maybe Trina or something. Just give her. Usually we try to give these characters a name just so we can refer to them.
Cool.
I don't really care about what the name is. Just like when I write, like I'll just put a placeholder in so I don't
And then
spend
never
my
change
writing
it.
session going, Ned, John, Ned. I'm like, I don't care. So Trina, just to give
Trina.
us something to kind of grip onto.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Call her Trina. Very traditional Irish name. So Trina. So like I don't know, like it would be nice for there to be a redemption arc for Trina as well, because she has, since she lost her family, she has brought such terrible pain and suffering and death to the world. So I think it's a case of like it nearly needs to be her seeing the light, and then her saving his son or his younger daughter, maybe through sacrificing herself, or maybe indeed she's able to save them and she becomes part of his family.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, and
I kind of see it a bit like Drag Me to Hell. Have you seen that Sam
yeah,
Raimi
it's been a
film?
while actually since I've seen that.
It's so funny. I remember seeing that in the cinema, and one thing I really noticed was how effective the sound design was, because it was doing so much work. I mean, it's a great film, and I love the scares, but so much of what was happening to get the audience to react was audible. I was in the cinema going, "This is such a good trick." But this person gets cursed, and she has a time frame where it's progressively getting worse.
Okay.
So what if we're saying that the time frame is actually Halloween night? Like it's actually the actual ritual, like the event. Well, it's not Samhain, because they mispronounce that in Halloween, but I forget the actual pronunciation
Samhain.
of what it. Samhain.
Yeah,
That's it.
Samhain. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Samhain. So, she could meet them, have dinner, break bread with them, but curse them all like very early. And now we're following their progression into this demonic curse.
Exactly.
That's getting worse, and it's pushing towards October 31st. And that's going to be your climax. And that could also be where she ends up having this redemptive quality where she saves at least the last kid, because she realizes she's doing to that kid what happened to her family.
Yeah.
But what she's doing is intentional, whereas the other
Exactly.
one was accidental, which is actually quite powerful.
And there has to be some sort of, like, there has to be a moment where she can kind of see or understand that what he did was not careless or mean-spirited or selfish. It was, you know, like, and of course that's a different sort of writing challenge, because you can't insert security footage scene here where she watches. So, you know, we don't have the luxury of that, but there has to be a way of, like, maybe either through kind of like documentation, or she goes to the courthouse or whatever it is and she sees letters he has written to whatever, the local, it's not a mayor back then, but, you know, saying, we're treating the people unfairly who come into the port, we shouldn't be doing this. And like there's a realization moment or something, or maybe she's someone who's able to kind of vision quest. And
I was going to say that,
you know,
she can hallucinate some night, wake up in a cold sweat, and she saw a vision of it. I mean, we're literally playing with her supernatural abilities. So you could even have the same recurring scene, but it's shrouded. There's missing pieces in it. And eventually she gets the full picture, which is him actually trying to save them, but being told you have to make the harsh decision.
Yeah.
And so
you have to keep
only,
them in there.
yeah, she's already cursed them. And that could be the kind of her transition, her arc, where she's like, I misunderstood it. I misunderstood the vision. And just like memory, especially from a young age, there's a lot that you added to it, or that has been manipulated due to your environment or just your misunderstandings
Or the
of your
fact
own
that
history.
like she's connecting herself with a demon or the devil.
That's
And
right.
that's like, you know, the door was open to the dark, and that dark has been fueling her and influencing her over the years. And she could have that realization as well, that like that dark companion she has had that has protected her, like that scene you had earlier where she, like, those guys, she kind of mutilated them or killed them or something, like that dark creature on her shoulder who has been somewhat of her protector, her guide, her this, her that. She
her
can
father
see,
figure.
yeah, she can see that.
Twisted paternal
Absolutely,
figure.
yeah. She could now see that as like, oh, I was being manipulated. So you have a few kind of places to go with that, which would be good. You know, actually, what I'm thinking is like this would be kind of like not a yeah. So it has to be like kind of like horse and cart times. You know, kind of like not a western, but a western feel. You know, I think it could be real.
I've seen
good,
The Witch a
know.
couple of years ago, and I have that very stark picture in my mind.
Right.
But that was more. Have you seen The Witch?
I've seen a bit of it.
I mean, even that you're looking for a name director. You get Robert Eggers to do this first Halloween.
You
set in
could,
that
yeah,
time.
no, not a bad idea. Yeah,
Now that I think of it, where we're trafficking is his bread and butter. So it's like, you take it.
But
you take it.
You don't want a
set it
horror
in this
director.
era.
You want like if you could get Denis Villeneuve, like someone like that'd be mental.
Yeah.
Otherwise, doing Bond
So-
or something maybe. But I think that's the meat and
So I
bones
picture
of the
that.
film. Yeah.
So in The Witch, they're more isolated and they kind of live more on the outskirts on their own.
Okay.
Whereas this one more explores her leaving that environment and going into more of the communal town setting, the town center, the church. So
It has to be like a
It's
busy
that-
space.
it's that visual that I see, but done in more of that town center community.
Yeah.
That she enters and completely subverts. And so I wouldn't mind exploring after she's cursed the family. Like, first off, when does she do it? I have this very distinct picture of her actually meeting them. They find out who she is. They're very apologetic. So it's really kind of sad. But at that dinner table, she's cursed them. And it's like, oh, wow. So now it kicks off. But she's been able to meet them and see them face to face. And her demon is just like, they're lying. Like no. So I don't know. But I definitely think a nice dinner scene with all of them together could actually be really good.
I think that could be really
kick off
good,
the thing.
and that's where it happens. But I think they can't realize who she is till after the curse.
Okay.
And there could be the realization, like whatever way she does the curse, there could be the realization because she says something in it maybe, and your man starts. Let's call him John. John starts putting two and two together, and as she's saying it, he's like, she ends the curse. And it's like you could have like this tension and this kind of music and the lighting, and you know the audience can nearly see the dark demon on over her shoulder, her back. You know, just make it incredible. And then as what she's saying, that incantation, that's linking. There's parts of that are in line with her family history, and he's just sitting there, and we're cutting to him, and it's like he's getting it. He's like, "You're Trina," and she goes, "Yeah." And then the curse is done. Like that, when she finished the curse and he goes, "You're Trina," and then she just gets up and she could go because she's done what she needed to do. And I think it's good for them to not know they're cursed. Like we know they're cursed, but they don't, and shit starts going weird. So you need all that kind of those movie tropes of like the discovery, what's going on, the confusion. Daddy, I'm seeing this. It's in your head. Da, 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 da. You know, you need those things to kind of like explore. You know, fill out your act two, and like he could be going to her to apologize, like without the curse thing. You know, from the top, and she doesn't believe him. And then when the curse shit's really kicking off, then he's really going to her. You know, or trying to track her down and that kind of thing. But yeah.
No, it makes total sense. And to curse them, it could be something where she puts a curse on something they're eating.
Yeah.
Or drinking. Or you play off the weapons idea where she actually takes an item from each of them.
I haven't seen weapons yet.
Okay. Well, from a film that I've seen recently.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
Okay, so I can't weasel myself out of this scenario.
Don't do that. But like, you know, having
you can curse like it's like using an item.
Yeah, that's a general curse thing. You take a
you have possession of a specific item that they own, and that because that also could end the scene nicely. Is like they're like, "Where's our forks?" You know, and she took each of their forks. You know,
because
at that
like
point
that's
their it was their possession.
Yeah,
They broke bread. They broke bread together. they were eating with it. It was an easy item to take, you know? Because then I'm thinking it could be something like that near the end, she's trying to give it back, you know? Maybe that last kid, she's trying to give the item back, you know?
Oh, I like that. Okay, so
Something.
maybe it's not forks, but maybe like so she gets into the house. Like I'm thinking maybe like there's a daughter who's 16, her age. She befriends her, you know, this kind of shit. Like, and she kind of like worms her way into the house. She gets a tour, and then like we've set up some of these items in it. Like, you know, maybe the daughter has like maybe John's daughter who's her age has like a I don't know, hairbrush, hair clips. It's something like that. Small. We can clock it as an audience because it's an easy gimmick. There's a scene where she's combing her hair. Grant, I've seen the brush. I've seen the hair clip. With the
Where
kid,
did it go
where did it
afterward?
go? You know, she goes up to her room. Where's the hairbrush? Okay, we know that's gone as the audience. The kid has a toy, like some little janky toy or teddy. It's easy for
Some
us to
spinner
clock that.
toy like Inception, you know?
That, yeah, anything like that.
That's what toys were back then.
Yeah.
Spin it. Okay,
Yeah.
what do I do now? Spin it
Spin
again.
it again. God, it's boring. So that kind of thing. So like, yeah, that's a good idea. That's easy for the for John. It could be a pen. It could be a quill or a pen that he uses to. And there's a nice thing in that, you know, because he signed their lives away, and then she took the quill that signed her family's lives away. You could have some sort of like, I don't know whether the wife is alive, or maybe you need a piece of tragedy in his past. But look, you know, it could be anything. But that's good. I'm digging this.
Yeah, so the curse is in place.
Yeah.
I think that scene makes sense. Now let's explore some scenarios of what the curse does to them in that kind of gradually building scenario. Like I can just imagine the trope that's very obvious is, you know, you start seeing things, you start questioning each other, but then the other people question it, and then it kind of builds gradually. But what is that? Is it The Conjuring? Like, those films are they're quite good at defining a specific type of, I saw something, I didn't, and it builds and builds to the bang, boo, scares.
Yeah.
But like, are we doing that for this, or is there a different scenario on gradually building demonic terror?
I think it's more subtle. It's more. Yeah, because I just saw the latest Conjuring film there a while ago, actually, yeah. And you sometimes have these kind of like big monster things kind of rush you and then disappears. You could have a touch of that. That might appeal to a modern audience. You know, you want to get bums on seats, so this is a franchise we're trying to build where people come back every year, so we need to kind of do something with it. But I personally would like it. Okay, go on.
To actually go back to a little throw to Michael Myers, and also recently I was looking at old, like this is like more late 1800s, but not this era, but old Halloween costumes, and they're absolutely terrifying.
Fucking terrifying.
So maybe you play with masks, and what they're seeing is figures in the house with those kind of like really creepy masks. You're getting a little bit of Michael Myers. You're getting a little bit of Halloween 3 with the kids with the masks.
Yeah.
So you're getting a bit of that trick-or-treaty vibe to it. But yeah, when you look at those, and if viewers are watching this, just Google 1900s Halloween costumes.
Terrifying.
And, you know, don't sleep tonight.
or like Google like the turnip jack-o'-lantern, whatever it is. Like
because then you've got something
freaky.
very concrete that's specific. Because otherwise it gets very nebulous, and it can turn into what's this?
But it has to be era specific. Yeah. But I think you kind of ratchet that up. They're seeing things or not. But I think there's sort of like there's something in if, particularly maybe the kid, the younger son, they're getting sick, but they're getting sick with the disease that killed her family.
Oh, I like it.
Do you know what I mean?
That's really
and
messed
it's kind
up.
of like that. It's all about, you know, revenge. It's like you kill them with what killed your family. So I think you could introduce that in some way as well. So you have the supernatural, you have the turnip mask thing, you have the scary Halloween masks of the time that are coming in, and then you have the sickness. And they're just getting sicker and shittier looking and weaker and more desperate, and all that, you know. And then it's like, well, look, we thought that disease was gone. And then the town is turning on them, stay away from me. They're like, kind of like...
They're being quarantined themselves.
Yeah, they're nearly being quarantined themselves, like locked in the house, or, you know, the townspeople are freaking out, or
I like
that
it.
kind of
It's
thing.
got
like,
quite Nosferatu vibes when the town just starts going chaotic,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like with the plague that hits them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very strong. I actually really like
Yeah.
the little boy gets sick, have a doctor come by. I'm not sure how legitimate the doctor can identify that this isn't that, but there will be something nice where he's like, I don't think this is what it is. And it's like, there hasn't been a case. He hasn't been like, but what's happened? And he's clearly got something. And it's like, I just think there's something interesting that the doctor is going, I don't think that's what it is. But what is it? I don't know. And the townspeople are all freaking out.
Yeah.
But at least the doctor's going, we'll quarantine him for now, for sure. But he just doesn't believe that that's what this is.
Yeah, it disappeared 10 years ago or whatever. Like, we haven't had this in 10 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like it.
It's good.
Do you want to also play with ideas where... Were they doing pumpkin carving back then? You were talking about turnip carving.
Yeah,
Is that what you were talking about? The turnips?
Turnip carving. Yeah, yeah. They're freaky.
So what is it? What is that? Is it like Halloween, where you or is it like
It's
traditional pumpkin carving at Halloween?
It is. It's what they did before pumpkins. They just carved faces into turnips, and they look way scarier.
Because maybe you can play with that kind of element, like they're going to do it one night, and then someone's like, hey, that's unfair, she already did it. And they turn around and all the pumpkins have been like pre-carved, or like nobody did it, you know? These kind of early on setting the table for the ratcheting of scares.
Yeah.
Like, you know, who carved this pumpkin? They look at it and like nothing's been carved into it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, what are you talking about? They're really simple. That's more tension building and eerie, because you want to start and kind of gradually ratchet up to the other element. So those kind of misunderstanding, hallucinatory moments, I think would work quite well.
Yeah. So, like, in terms of a year, I just did a quick Google here. Like we're not talking the 1900s. Like, is it 1800s? Like, I think The Witch is set the 1600s. So is it sort of like 1700s? Like, it's basic enough times, or maybe it's like 1800s. You know, like, I'm thinking kind of like that cowboy era time, you know, where like there's level, like there is like, there's the lawman, and there's town infrastructure, and there's a certain level of medicine. It's not pure, you know, it's not pure all witch doctor stuff, because I think like this thing of like curses needs to be something that people will be kind of afraid of and interested in, but not everyone in the town is like
a bit dismissive of it.
Yeah, so it's like it can't be like
take a tonic,
1700s,
like
this, you know what I mean? It's like,
this is the era where they're like, have a tonic, you know, like
yes,
eat some ginger. Like these were like
they're getting
the
past
solutions.
the you know, that kind of supernatural way of thinking of like everything.
I like it.
You know, so it's on the cusp of that transition from, you know, paranoia about superstition to medicine. So they're kind of getting into that. So you're talking like mid to late 1800s. There's still enough superstition. There's a bit of infrastructure. Just kind of steam trains are coming along, and you know, that kind of thing. Like it's a bit more of a new world, but with something old.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I'm happy with that.
Cool.
It just makes it, you can't go to pilgrim times when they arrive, but you know, you can level that up and make sense of that in the next draft. So then I imagine that we're barreling towards the Halloween night. The family are absolutely shattered. They're just at wit's end. They're bickering with each other. Has there been already a couple of deaths in the family?
I don't know. Like, I mean, this is it. You need a couple of deaths. So, I mean, you could probably kill his wife.
You could have an extended family. Like, we don't just have to picture two parents and two kids, you know? You can bring in grandparents and animals.
Actually, yeah. Do you know what? It should be like the livestock is getting killed that they have. The dog dies, the grandparents die. I mean, you have those opportunities for other things like that piece you mentioned earlier where she has those guys killed. There's plenty of opportunity to kind of have these deaths. And I think some of it, like, you could bring in inspiration, as I say.
The Doctor, I think.
Yeah.
Because the Doctor could then turn into more of the detective character. If you've set him up that he doesn't believe that this is the plague or this is the disease that they quarantined with, he will start investigating what happened. They introduce this character. He starts digging around.
I like that.
He figures out who she is, and he's a man of science who's now going, well, I also go to church. You know, it's like, so you're playing with your time frame as well, where we're in a community that's less and less believing in these kind of fairy tales, that the actual Doctor kind of starts seeing what it is, and he could then get got by her.
Yeah, the man of science is going there. I like that. Yeah.
So that's you have a death with him. I actually do agree. I think you're kind of leaning towards keep the family unit together until that final act where, you know, you want the father alive till the climax at least, because he kicked this off. I'm not sure if we want to kill people then. I'm actually happy if he sacrifices himself or if he dies and the mother dies. Like, there's something nice about she sees one of the children. Now, do we want to make it a mirror reflection, like she sees the other daughter who's like 6 years old and she goes, that could have been me? Or is that too on the nose and we'd rather replace that with the boy instead? I mean, I do feel like she's got to see one of those kids have to be around her age.
Yeah,
when
I think the girl, because that's her way in. She could befriend the girl, you know, in the chemist or whatever the hell it is in the town, you know. So I think that's her way into the family, is through the daughter.
Interesting.
And then, you know, not have it be a direct mirror, but have the child, a 6-year-old boy. I mean, he could remind her of her brother. Like you said there at the top, like, you know, she had a younger brother, I think, and he died. So maybe that's what.
I like that.
You know, so I think
she doesn't see herself. She sees the brother that she lost.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, and maybe she sees something in the daughter who's trying to save him. And she go, fuck, that was me. I was trying to save him.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. And she's trying to, and he's only going to die because of me. So what am I doing?
And so, do you know have much knowledge of those kind of events at that time? Like, could you picture like what that looks like? Big bonfire, I kind of imagine. Like, I'm literally just inventing this from nothing, and I'm refusing to Google it.
I think that I've done a few sneaky Googles just to check the years, but I do like that thing of like, I don't think it. Like, I did see the opening scene, I think, of The Witch, but it shouldn't be set that far back in time, like the 1600s. No. I think it's going to be critical for the story to work that, you know, they have abandoned a bit of the supernatural and they're moving towards machinery and, you know, what will be in those terms kind of like a little bit of a technological revolution, because then they can dismiss it, they can feel more comfortable, more cynical, and they can be more vulnerable as well to what she's doing. But yeah, I think we've got the era, I think we've got our main characters, I think we've got, you know, we've got our Act 1 or Act 2, with guts to the Act 3, like we kind of know she's going to repent, or she's going to see the light, and she's going to realize that her anger is being manipulated by this demon on her shoulder who she let in at the top. And that's really the ultimate betrayal. Like, this guy isn't the guy who deliberately screwed her over. It's her best friend, the demon, who has been her company for all these years. It was him who is really against her. So, yeah. And
I can picture that third act at the Halloween event. It's happening in town. Family's quarantined. They look, the door's opened, the little boy's gone. And he's being drawn to this event where he's going to be like taken. that forces all of them to go into town and look for him. It also has them being ostracized and attacked by the townspeople who think that they are that they're infected. So there's a lot actually happening, which is great because we want to ratchet up a lot of this
Chaos
tension
going on there. Yeah,
they're all wickedly hallucinating because it's gotten even worse, and they're being attacked by real people, so they're getting really confused as to what's real, what's not, while they're looking for the boy. And it turns out they get to that bonfire, and there she is, Trina, who's been manipulating them. They have that one standoff, and then I don't know what's happening because I keep talking, but like I imagine what we're trying to do is get to a point where the father will sacrifice himself and die, and just that really solidifies that he is a good man who had to make a bad call years ago. And now she is a bad person who could choose to not. And the reason she's bad is because of the demon who is manipulating her. But that's kind of the realization. Like, what happened to her wasn't intentional. What she's doing to them is intentional. And we're just right at that moment using the child as that fulcrum, as that kind of breaking point. I think that makes sense to get everybody there. You've got that momentum and that frenetic energy of that last search, because they're like, this is going to end soon. The doctor's gone already. So we've got a lot there.
All this
I think we
load's
just
there.
need that. We just need that one standoff. What is that results in her pulling the plug on the idea?
We'd said earlier on that like she's having these sort of like astral visions, or these mind quests, and you mentioned earlier on maybe those visions are becoming clearer and clearer up until the end, and really maybe she has like some sort of psychic power, but that psychic power in the time of trauma tapped into the demon, and really the good side of that psychic power has been trying to see the truth, and really that fuzziness around seeing the truth has been blocked by the demon. So like she's having these visions, they're blurry and they're augmented, but then they become nightmares. And throughout the film, nearly as the family are becoming more plagued, you could imagine that the demon's energy is over there, so the demon's energy is not on her as much, and that's giving her the bandwidth to see that vision truth a little bit easier. And then when it's really kind of coming to the crescendo moment, like there could have been something earlier where the doctor did confront her and she kind of denied it all, and the demon killed him.
Yes.
And he came to her with the truth and she couldn't accept it, and the demon killed him for her. But in that moment, the kids at the bonfire, the demon has left her nearly fully, and the demon is kind of in the bonfire ready to consume this fresh blood of a child, like the tastiest morsel for the demon. And then she's free of the demon for that moment, and she can see clearly, and she can look at the father and she can project into his mind, or she has those psychic abilities now, clear, not augmented by the demon. She can see the truth through his eyes, and then she sees in that moment, shit, he was actually all right, and he's about to lose his son. And then the demon can kind of twig, oh shit, she's free now. She sees the truth. I can't hide the truth from her anymore. And that's always what he's been doing, has been like hiding the truth from her.
And I think we need something like at the bonfire, there is this supernatural portal or something that is kind of like within it, because she then has to, in that moment of clarity, take the place of the child she was pushing in. And so she's the one who actually does go in place.
Or
so she's the one
goes to, but John, the dad, says, you've lost enough, and he takes her place.
Interesting.
So he sacrifices himself for his family and for her.
I like it.
So,
but we need to see her doing that, right?
We need to see her go to do it.
She makes the decision.
She makes the decision to save the son. She's going to go through that gateway to hell and block the child.
So she takes the demon back, right? Because you were saying that it's been latching onto the boy now.
Her. It's trying to latch on. It's luring that boy through that portal, as you say, through the bonfire into hell, and she goes to try and stop that, but then the dad stops her and says, "No, I'm doing it." Because
And because I imagine it's the demon's going in there with them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like, who's going to take this and go into it?
yeah,
And
so
he's the
gonna
one.
go.
Yeah.
So he takes it.
Fuck.
So
Brutal end for the
yeah,
man.
brutal end, like a nice little bit of tragedy, but it's good. It's a hero's end. He saves
Absolutely.
his family. He saves her, and she gets a
Yeah.
second chance in life. And she's free of that demon, and obviously she'll have to go and make her own path. I don't think she's going to be hanging out with his family because she's the reason their dad is dead. But yeah, I think that's
She
sort
becomes
of like
a doctor.
she becomes a doctor. But I think that's sort of like a fitting end for that story. You know?
Yeah, I don't think you even go further than that.
No.
Because it opens too many.
Oh no, what I mean is that like
questions.
the in terms of her journey, you know, like I think her journey comes to a satisfactory end when she is free of that demon. She gets a second chance at life because she never had a chance at life after the family died.
Yeah.
And then that dad gets he gets to put right somewhat what he feels he is on the hook for, because he might feel he cursed her in that moment when he put her whole family there, or he stopped them coming through and he had them in the quarantine sections.
You can make it where he could have said no. It was in his ability, but he felt like he couldn't because of his fear of the unknown. So
Yeah.
he should still feel like, we're not trying to absolve him of that decision. It was
No.
his decision. And
The more grey you make it, the better.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think that's it. I think we've landed the plane.
It's pretty good. I'd watch that flick.
I would too.
I think every time we do this, I kind of nearly go, I'd watch that. Someone make the bloody movie and bloody do it. I'd watch it.
Considering like how it started with, it's anything we want it to be. And you scared me when you were like, we're going way back. I was like, I don't know enough about the history, but just latch on to what we've seen before.
Yeah.
My middling memory of history class, and I think we got there.
I think we got there. Yeah, it's good.
Great stuff.
Really enjoyed it.
I can always rely on you to just throw a complete spanner into the works. I got these other guys who are like, we'll do a sequel to Halloween 4. We'll do a sequel to the original Halloween. And you're like, we're going to the 1800s. I'm like, great. But
fuck Michael Myers,
honestly,
we're going to the 1800s.
That is honestly what's been super exciting about this series already, is nobody is remotely close to each other on what to do next, which is very exciting. And it also just shows, even though the franchise started as one simple film, everybody has an idea of what to do next that isn't as simple, which I think is super fascinating. Kind of makes me want to explore even more of the options that people could do with it. So
That's great.
Paul,
Cool.
Great session.
Thank you.
Good job.
I enjoyed that. I just want to see it.
All right. So that's a wrap on today's episode. If you enjoyed this, I definitely recommend that you go check out the playlist, the Halloween franchise playlist on the Storybreakers channel, where we're going to be housing all the episodes that are currently on tour on various YouTube channels. So go check that out too. And that's a wrap. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe. That's all the words I have. I'm always bad at this part.
We hate saying goodbye.
All right, Paul. Yeah. Paul, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Everybody else watching, thank you for lasting this long. And I'll see you next time for another episode of Storybreakers. Take care.